for human beings to be happy, they have to be satisfied in all four areas. There is physical, uh, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Like Dr. Stephen Covey says, four human endowments is what he calls it in Seven Habits: heart, mind, body, and soul or spirit. So, for a human being to be really happy in his life, he has to be happy or satisfied in all four areas. For example, if somebody is physically very strong, he has a great health, disease free body, right? However, he doesn't have great relationships. Will he be really happy? What do you think? Yes or no? So, will he be really happy? So, the man, physically fit, very rich, but the relationships are not great. When he enters the house, his son would go in a separate room, his wife would go in a separate room. So, will he be really happy if he doesn't have great connections? When he go at work, people are not really happy seeing him coming at work. People wish that he is not there. So, uh, he naturally, so thank you very much for those responses on the chat. So, definitely, he will not be really very happy. Similarly, if the person is very intelligent, you will, if you go on Google and read about people who had a very high IQ, extremely high IQ, but they were really, really miserable in their life. They didn't like the media attention. Many of them actually kind of retired from the public life at an early age, and they started doing something very insignificant in a small place, hiding from the world because emotionally they were not able to deal with the people around the world. So a person, for being happy, satisfied, contented, at peace, whatever you call it, he has to be happy in all four areas. Now let's look at these areas, couple of areas. Physical. So for being physically happy, fit and healthy, what do we do?
Exercises.
So exercise. Thank you very much. So we do exercise. What else?
Healthy food.
Healthy food. So
Food.
we
Yeah.
control our diet, control our mind, eat food which is good for our health. What else?
A healthy lifestyle.
Healthy lifestyle is what we adopt. We sleep on time.
Sleeping is important.
Sleep on time. We get up on time. We exercise. We use meditation. We meditate. So we do all those things to keep ourselves yoga, to keep ourselves fit and healthy. So this is all we do exercise. Now, when we talk about intelligence, right? So intelligence is that part of our life which deals with logic, reasoning, thinking, taking decisions, understanding, ability to grasp, remember, and so on. Mathematical abilities. So in 1900, Bennett and Simon designed a IQ test. This is very famous. We all know about it. Now, what was the objective about for designing this scale? The objective of designing this test was to identify children who were weak in studies, right? Who were weak in terms of IQ, so that teachers can kind of pay extra attention on these children and help them develop and grow. But what happened? Like most of the inventions made by human beings, this was also kind of misused. So instead of identifying weak children and help them grow, we started identifying children who had high IQ and focused on them to help them grow further. But over a period of time, the world realized that IQ is not the only factor which is responsible or which is instrumental in human success. High IQ never guaranteed a successful life or a happy life. Then what did? Then the scientists went further and understood that there is something called emotional intelligence, something which is related to emotions, which is important for human success because humans are social beings. They stay together, right? They stay together. And because they have to stay together all the time for their survival, that is what they need. It is necessary to understand, it is necessary not only to understand, to have the ability to interact, influence people around themselves. Plus, because of the intellect, we have to learn to influence ourselves also. So this is what we thought about. This is what people started thinking about, and then came the term emotional intelligence. So, what do you think? By what do you think could be emotional intelligence in your words? You can use the chat box, or you can unmute and tell me what do you think is emotional intelligence.
To understand our own emotion, recognize them, and able to balance it.
Thank you very much. So, ability to understand our own emotions, that is very important. Recognize them, and wherever necessary, take appropriate action so that we are able to deal or manage those emotions effectively. So, understanding your own emotions, Defi says, thank you very much. Managing emotions, yeah, thank you very much. Okay. So, great. Thank you very much for all those responses. So, what I have, let's see. So, ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, plus understand, recognize, understand, and influence how these emotions influence others. So, emotional intelligence is not only about understanding ourselves, but also understanding how it affects others as well, and how it influences others. So when I do something, when I say something, and when I act in a particular way, how does it affect others also is another part of the emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence means it is understanding self as well as others. When we say it is an ability, what does it mean? So when we say it's an ability, what does it mean? Any thoughts? You can
Sir,
use the chat box also.
own
Controlling emotions.
capacity, yeah, own capacity or own.
So what does it mean? So you're right there. Ability, capacity, controlling. So what does it mean controlling? Awareness. Yeah. What else? So you're all right. But what else? What does ability means? Competency. Thank you very much. So and ability is, so this was from Darshana. Thank you very much. So ability is competency. What does it mean? It is a competency means it can be learned. So it is a skill and it can be learned and developed. Right. So emotional intelligence is something. It is a skill and it can be learned and developed. So that's what I wanted to kind of stress upon. So the research says that for most of the time, most of the people, IQ is more or less the same. It doesn't change much. Okay. But emotional intelligence is something which keeps on changing. And for most of the people, most of the time, it is growing all the time. Right. So there is an interesting saying, right? Our ancestors knew more than us. So there is an interesting saying which says, only if the youth knew or the age could. So my request to everyone is keep yourself on mute. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So emotional intelligence. So what were we talking about? Okay. So the emotional intelligence is something which can be developed. So the saying which I was sharing with you was very old saying. Only if the youth knew or the age could. Okay. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, recognizing emotions, managing emotions, why is it important? So let's look at how our mind works. Okay. So, so stimulus or surrounding, we receive information from the surroundings. Some of this information can trigger our emotions. and we may automatically respond to it. For example, I'm sorry. For example, a snake. As soon as we see snake, what happens?
Fear,
What is our instant response? Yeah,
fear, flight.
fear. Thank you very much. So as soon as we see snake, what happens? We fear. Now this is an automatic response. As soon as we see snake, immediate is fear. And what happens? As soon as we
Run.
experience fear,
We run.
we run. So that is, it triggers fight or flight mode. So we run away most
Correct.
of the time. So it is because flight dominates fight most of the time. Most of the time, for self protection, we would run away. So the automatic response is see the snake and run away. Now imagine if it's a prank and your friend has kept an artificial snake there. Because we have seen snake, without even kind of analyzing the situation, we would immediately see and run away, or we would at least respond with fear. So the response with respond with fear is like Lavanya said: we jump, we scream, we shout, and this is an auto response. And what is the other possible response? The other possible response is as soon as you see the snake, along with the emotions, or if you experience fear, you first try to identify what is it that is triggering a fear. So is it really a snake? Right? Is it really a poisonous snake? Is it really dangerous? Is it really necessary for me to run away? So identify, interpret, and then choose a behavior. For this, what happens? It takes time. For auto response, it happens immediately. So to stop auto response, we have to think. Now, most of the time, it is the research says that 96% of our times we are in auto response. So you can say that because our consciously we can do only one thing at a time, right? But we happen to do multiple things at a time. So I am thinking about only one thing at a time, and rest of the things are happening automatic. That is why they tell you don't drive and talk over the phone, right? Don't use mobile phone and drive. Why? When you're talking over the phone, your entire attention or your mind is focused on talking over the phone. At that time, if a animal or a human suddenly comes on the road, what will happen? Because you are thinking about, you're focused about discussion over the phone, to bring the attention on the road, then think about pressing the brakes, or thinking about going on left or right. So you have to take a decision. Before you could do that, you will actually hit the person or the animal in front of. However, if your attention is focused in front of you, your decision will be, your action will be quick. But you can do only one thing at a time. When you are driving a car, in normal situations, it is automatic. You're not thinking about anything. You're just driving. So when you see the roads are empty, you will automatically press the pedal, and your car will take the speed, pick up the speed. When you are in traffic, so you will be continuously pressing clutch and brake and managing in the traffic. However, if something suddenly comes, then you have to make a choice whether to press the pedal or to kind of go left, go right. Whatever your automatic response is trained for, you would do that at that time. So if you have watched that movie, Rustam, where Akshay Kumar is a Navy officer and he shoots somebody, and he says that in our manual we are trained to do that. So as soon as somebody picks up the gun and points it towards me, my automatic response is to fight 3 shots and in and around heart area, so that he dies immediately and doesn't hit me back. So whatever was, so those auto responses they practice. Sports are all auto responses. So when what do you think when a fast bowler is bowling to Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli, at how much time does he have to decide what kind of shot he has to play? when somebody, we all follow cricket, so I assume most of us follow cricket. So when somebody, a fast bowler is bowling at Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli or any of our any of the batsmen, how much time the ball takes to reach the batsman? How much time does he have to decide what shot he has to play? Any idea? Any guess? How much time does he have to play that shot?
Seconds, I believe.
Seconds, I believe, right? Actually, it is one third of a second, right? So it is almost traveling. So, like Shoaib Akhtar used to ball at 150 kilometers per hour. So, he had a person has around one third of a second to decide what shot to play. Now, can you decide in one third of a second? Can you play a shot within one third of a second? Because the ball is going to come to you within one third of a second. So, can you think and play the shot?
Not possible, sir.
Not possible. Thank you very much. So, it is not possible. So, what do these batsmen do? So, what they do is they practice so much that it becomes an auto response. So, ball pitch in one area, they will automatically go for a particular shot in a particular way. So most of the sports which you see are played at automatic responses. Cricket, a batsman is definitely batting most of the time on an automatic mode. In today's world, when you talk about EQ versus IQ, so when we talk about emotional intelligence, so here go back to the old slide. Emotional intelligence means controlling those auto responses as well. So when I say manage my emotions, are actually controlling those auto responses. Now, what these auto responses can be, we will see it. So one of the auto response is fear. When we talk about EQ and IQ, as the people grow in the organization, as the people grow in the organization, the success depends more and more on EQ than IQ, because certain technical competencies are already presumed. As you grow up in the organization, it is how you are able to lead and influence people that makes a real difference. So when we talk about emotional intelligence, it is basically awareness about positive and negative emotions, expressions, experiences that we have, and how we react to it. So when we are happy, how is our body language? When we are sad, how is our body language? So when somebody is happy, how is his body language? When somebody is sad, how is his body language? When somebody is angry, how does he react? How do you react? What makes others angry? What makes you angry? So all these things come into emotional intelligence.